The Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources condemned the alleged placement of floating barriers by the Chinese Coast Guard at Bajo de Masinloc. According to the agency, this poses a danger to the livelihood of fisherfolks. Let's find out more about this with Frederico Velloso live. Fred?
Yes, David, BFAR condemned the illegal structures allegedly placed there by the Chinese Coast Guard in the southern part of Bajo de Masinloc, or Shoal.
According to spokesperson Nazario Briguera, BFAR strongly condemns the actions of the Chinese Coast Guard, for it endangers the small-scale fishermen who ply their trade in the area. Briguera pointed out that these floating barriers could potentially get entangled in the propellers and engines of fishing boats. Furthermore, they will hinder the livelihood of small fisher folks.
The mere fact na parang tinatanggalan sila ng karapatan doon dahil nilalagyan nila ng barrier ay hindi po ito maganda. At talagang talagang nakikiisa tayo sa mga ibang instrumentalities ng pamahalaan, sa ibang mga ahensya ng gobyerno, maging sa Senado, no? Nagpalabas sila ng pahayag na kinukundina natin ito dahil ang bahaging yon ng ating teritoryo ay dapat napapakinabangan ng ating mga mangingisda.
The official also expressed concern that Bajo de Masinloc might not be the only area where the Chinese Coast Guard places such illegal structures.
Sana naman kung sino man mga dayuhang bansa na nandoon na maging responsable, igalang ang ating soberenya at igalang ang ating kalikasan dahil hindi lang naman ito tungkol sa Pilipinas, no? May interconnectivity ang ating marine environment. Kapag sinira nila ang West Philippine Sea, posibleng sila ay maepektuhan din.
BFAR advised the fisher folks to exercise caution when venturing into Bajo de Masinloc. Meanwhile, Tugon Kabuhayan Group is calling the Philippine government to take immediate action on the floating barriers placed by China. Aziz Perez, a former BFAR chief and convener of the group, stated that this incident poses a danger to nearly 100 fisher folks in the area.
Matatakot yung ating mga mangingisda na mangingisda doon sa lugar eh. Because what they wanted is to shock our fishermen, prevent them from doing what they are doing legitimately. No? So they wanted to stop our fishers from doing the right things. Kung nandun ka doon sa loob, yung mga isdang bato, mga lapu-lapu, yung mga demersal na tinatawag natin. Pero kung doon ka nangingisda sa bandang labas, siyempre makakahuli ka doon ng tinatawag nating small pelagic. Yung mga isdang gala, gaya ng tuna, galunggong, hasa-hasa, ganun, at iba pa.
Perez further emphasized that this could also affect the fish supply in the nearby areas of Zambales. He supports the idea of the Philippine Coast Guard removing or dismantling the floating barriers. In a media interview, PCG spokesperson for the West Philippine Sea, Commodore J. Tahidya, claimed that China has placed a 300-meter-long floating barrier. The PCG and BFAR discovered this during a routine maritime patrol on September 22 of this year, while aboard the BRP Datu Bangkao. Tahidya also mentioned that 3 Chinese Coast Guard rigid-hull inflatable boats and a Chinese Maritime Militia Service boat were inside the floating barrier when their personnel arrived. He stated that Chinese Coast Guard often does this when they see a large group of Filipino fishermen in the area.
Ang ginawa natin, no, when we saw the barrier, no, nilapitan natin to, our media friends who could attest to this, and then we also use at least underwater camera, no, to check kung ano ang nasa ilalim ng barrier na to. So, meron siyang maliliit na buoy na nagpapalutang dun sa barrier, and then merong dalawang patong na makapal na parang lubid siya na with a diameter of at least 1.5 to 2 inches yung diameter na dalawa, na pinagpatong siya na meron namang net, no? So, ang tendency, if you're going to insist in proceeding dun sa shoal, maaaring kainin ng propeller mo yung mga net na nasa ilalim ng floating barrier.
Tahidya stated that they would file a case against the Chinese Coast Guard for their illegal activities at Bajo de Masinloc. Meanwhile, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Mao Ning dismissed the allegations as false and groundless. On the other hand, Wang Wenbin, spokesman of Chinese Foreign Ministry, asserted that Bajo de Masinloc, which is known as Wangyang Island in China, is an inherited part of the country's territory. Wang also accused BFAR's vessel of illegally intruding into the waters near Wangyang Island without China's permission.
Meanwhile, Justice Secretary Jesus Crispin Remulla said that the Philippine government may remove the flooring barrier if it is within the exclusive economic zone of the country.